Salute Knicks Nation. The streets are buzzing. Let's talk about this game as the Boston Celtics avoid elimination and take game 5 at the TD Garden, and we're headed back to MSG for a game 6. Tonight, let's chop it up. Let's break this thing down, man. Frustrated, no doubt. I think credit to Boston. Obviously, I think the Knicks were going to have to play a great game to close this one out in Boston. Obviously, they've got a lot of pride. The talk was that they were going to obviously try to rally for Jason Tatum and put in a great performance, and Boston did that. A lot of self-inflicted wounds from the New York Knicks as well. However, I'm not sweating too much because on to the next. Obviously, the Knicks have a golden opportunity to close this team out and head to the Eastern Conference Finals on their home floor for the first time since 1999. Right? But they had a great chance tonight. I'm disappointed they didn't get it done. Obviously, they were up against a lot of things. Very interesting game. The Knicks getting control early. They wasted a great Mitchell Robinson game. As we look at the wire to wire and the stats, welcome in, guys, to the stream. I see you in the chat. Knicks diehards in here tonight. Like I said, credit to Boston. I mean, they made probably their most complete game tonight. And there is some level of concern because obviously they've got talent. However, we didn't see this level of a Jaylen Brown, all series. And so what are we going to get from game 6 is going to be the main storylines all over, the talking heads, the national media and all that. But I'm not losing my head tonight because, Boston, they're a deep team. They're a champion. Didn't expect to go into their building and just, push them, sweep them aside. It is frustrating. The Knicks lost control of this game, but the referees were brutal, man. Brunson picking up 5 fouls, basically 5 fouls in the span of 9 minutes. Hart getting into it early, got the bloody face with the elbow of Luke Cornett. Basically, Jaylen Brown and him were going back and forth on a screen. Brown, there's footage of him grabbing the balls. Josh Hart. We've got the video to pull up. But yeah, the Knicks defense, the third quarter was just brutal, man. Most disappointing thing for me is we just needed to be in the game heading into the fourth, but we let the lead, the deficit get too large in the third quarter for many other reasons. Conspiracy theorists, series extenders, Tony Brothers, all of that. One of the reasons I'm not losing my head because this is playoff ball, fam. This is par for the course. Basically, since I've been a fan for 35 years, it's you win on your home floor, the other team wins, and it's just back and forth. But yeah, the Knicks have been a good road team. This is probably one of our worst road performances, but just stretches of lapses sprinkled in. We played really good ball in the first half. You guys look at the wire to wire. The Knicks had a 9-point lead at one point, let it slip. Boston got hot. They were always going to shoot the three. I think we didn't do a good enough job defending the three. The starters were atrocious tonight. I mean, the plus minus speaks a lot, but obviously Boston just hit their threes. And if you want my prediction, fam, if you're wondering why I don't seem too angry, I'm confident. I'm confident that the New York Knicks will close this thing out. And at the Mecca, Game 6 in front of a raucous Madison Square Garden, man, the Boston Celtics are going to be up against it. A lot of outliers tonight. I mean, like Jaylen Brown, he looked basically a shell of himself for all 4 previous games, especially the last game at the Garden. But I think it was pride tonight. I think they just gave all that they had, for Jason Tatum, for their squad, for their inner circle, and they bounded together to stave off elimination in front of their home floor. And the Knicks have to learn, this is a part of the growing process for a team to climb that mountain. You have to meet adversity head first, and match a champion blow for blow. And Boston staved off elimination in this one. The refs here were pretty poor in my opinion. But the shots were going down. Both teams were shooting 47% at the half, and the New York Knicks had more assists. However, Boston's defense just turned it up. Jaylen Brown on both ends. That's the best defense I've seen him play all series. Obviously, when the biggest player goes down, the next leader has to step up. A lot of pressure, a lot of shade, a lot of talk was on Jaylen Brown. He answered the call tonight. 12 blocks from the Celtics. Luke Corn was a killer in this one. The Knicks got 5 steals, but 27 assists. To me, that's the biggest outlier heading in to a game 6, right? Because we all know Boston's, Achilles heel was just jacking threes, lack of ball movement, getting bogged down in their offense. They only had 15 assists in game 4 when the Knicks took that big game. Tonight, they bounced back with 27 dimes, ball movement, and the Knicks were on their heels. So Boston, obviously, there's only one way that they can win this series, they know, is moving the ball, get threes up, and the Knicks fell into that trap. The Knicks fell into that plan. Boston executed well, but the New York Knicks did waste a phenomenal game from Mitchell Robinson early. He was just an absolute beast. Hitting Mitchie 6 of 6 from the free throw line. I mean, that's one of the biggest stories to come out of this game. Did not miss a free throw. Mitchell Robinson been practicing, much respect. Flowers to Mitchell Robinson, man. If the Knicks had won this game because we had the lead, he would have been a big part. Unfortunately, the Knicks just could not go on with it. Right? We have confirmation. Saturday, Game 6 is going to be Friday. Friday, 8 p.m. TNT. The Knicks have a good record when on TNT, but here we are. We've got that chance to close things out on Friday. I'm confident we will. How are you guys feeling? M. Jean in the house. Rye, salute. Rye says rigged by the ref. Angel says don't start Cat because of the foul trouble in the first half. I don't see that happening, but yeah, Cat was, man, in his own space tonight, man. 3 fouls early, but they were ticky-tack, and I feel like his reaction is kind of prompting the referees, to give him a bad whistle. Lily Phillips, shout out. Very, very disappointing tonight. Yeah, would have been awesome to close them out in Boston as well. We've got some people losing their heads, as is per usual. Lily says, I thought Josh shot well. Yeah, he shot great. Jose said third quarter, 17 points was a killer. Yep. Definitely. M. Jean says we're getting blown out too often. Look, yeah, games have swings, It could go either way, 9 points, you lose that lead, they start hitting everything and momentum, the crowd, all of that. They were hungry. And that's how playoff ball goes. Usually the most hungry team wins, the most desperate team. I mean, most of you guys have been watching playoff basketball for a long enough time. You should know that whoever's more desperate wins the game. Boston lost the last game, and they were facing elimination. So I'm not too down on the Knicks. It's just the more desperate team wanted it. And heading into Game 6, the Knicks will be the most desperate team because, chance to close it out on their home floor, right? You're not up against no scrub. You're up against a team that was the second seed and a team that was the reigning champions, right? You have to play your best. Jimmy says Scott Foster Friday. Hope not. Peter, what's good? Johnny says perimeter defense missing when you knew they were going to chuck more than ever. Yep. 100%, man. Spot on. I was screaming, man, from the rooftop, tweeted it out. Just guard the 3. But they pushed the pace, in transition. And look, any team can beat anyone with ball movement, ball movement and shooting. I mean, Amari Stoudemire and 4 shooters back in 2010 went on that crazy run. People are going to look at, how did the Knicks lose without Tatum and all that? That's just casual basketball analysis, right? It don't matter if Tatum's on the floor or not. when everyone else is hitting threes, right? The problem with Boston was that they had 15 assists in game 4. The ball was not moving because it was stuck to Jason Tatum's hand. Tonight, 27 assists, and the ball was moving, and the Knicks have to defend more. They have to defend more. Peter says, I'm glad you're confident, CT. I am not. They will fight just as hard Friday. That's playoff basketball, man. It could go either way, but you have to go in confident. I believe in our guys. They're dogs. They're up against a good team. Basketball game has swings throughout the game. The bounce of the ball. Some things go your way. Some things go against you, man. But the Knicks have to do better at basically control the flow of the game. And I'm going to talk a bit about Thibodeau tonight because, Thibodeau didn't coach a very good game at all, man. Thibodeau was bad. That run in the third, he needed to switch the lineup up, get Deuce McBride in there, get Mitch. Cat's defense was the poorest in that third quarter. And we got blown out, missed assignments, left too many shooters open, slow getting back. And as the playoffs continue, tired legs is going to start to creep in. So I'm most disappointed that we missed, obviously, that opportunity to end the series. Assuming we win on Friday, we're still going to get 4 days rest. It looks like the Indiana series will tip off on Wednesday if the Knicks can close it out on Friday. So the Knicks will still get 4 days rest. If the Knicks had closed it out tonight, the series would have started on Monday. So they still would have got 4 days rest. But basically, all it means is the Knicks have to play another game. And that's annoying because anything can happen. I gave my shout out to Mitchell Robinson. I thought he was the best Knick early on. He was rebounding everything. Missoula went to Hacker Mitch as well, and he answered that adversity, man, face on. And that's going to give Missoula a lot of questions. That could be a pivotal factor in Game 6, right? If they can't do Hacker Mitch, it's advantage New York Knicks. 13 rebounds, 6 offensive, 6 of 6 from the free throw line. Mitchell Robinson was fantastic with 8 points early, 20 minutes. And so he's going to be a big factor as well. What do you guys think? Do they move away from the Hacker Mitch, right? As I bring up the video I said earlier, right? The tussle between Hart and Brown, the double technical. For those that haven't seen it, there was a bit of a blow up. Hart didn't like, obviously, having his junk being grabbed by another man. Thibodeau, this one wasn't really reviewed. It wasn't challenged. Tony Brothers called a double technical. It was a foul on the floor for the Knicks, side out. The Knicks got the side out, but basically Hart pushed Brown after that. Brown pushed him back in the back, and frustrations boiled over. But it all started from this. Jaylen Brown with the dirty play, and that got Hart fired up. That brings some animosity to Game 6, and I like that. That's when we're at our best, and I think we're going to close these guys out, man, in Game 6. But buckle up, right? Get your blood pressure pills, get your pacemakers ready. Who knows what can happen, how close Game 6 could be, but I'm confident. There's no other way, in my opinion, to be. We have 2 more games, worst case scenario, and there's a reason why 90-something% of teams close the series out when it's 3-1 up. Frustrating night overall. But once again, got to give credit to Boston. I mean, they suffered a gut punch, basically, after Game 4. Not only losing a close game, but losing Jason Tatum for up to 9, 12 months, possibly. Who knows? However, like I said, speedy recovery. Hopefully, Jason Tatum is back as soon as he possibly can. But his team definitely won this one for him. and I wouldn't have expected any different, guys. Think of it was the other way. Think if Jalen Brunson had gone down with a long-term, our team would have had his back and come back and rallied. And it's no different to what we saw from Boston. But you have a few chances throughout the game on the road, and you have to capitalize. And the Knicks just started great. Good lead first half. I was confident we were going to go on with it, but the tide changed, and Tibbs didn't change with the tide. He didn't change with the flow, fam. Mitchell Robinson was dominating. He should have got Cat out of there, and he should have got Mitch back in a lot earlier, especially with Mitch hitting those free throws as well. PH says, I believe in our team, but not this Tibbs bugged out coach. And AP says, I'm also ready for Rick Brunson to take over. I mean, there's going to be a lot of things said when the season's done, but for Tibbs to get us in this position, right, speaks a lot about how the players, respect Tibbs. I know Tibbs' shortcomings, downfalls. It's frustrating. We'll talk about it a lot more, guys. But yeah, right now there's a series to be won. And in my mind, I'm headed to the Eastern Conference Finals. Maybe we overlooked Boston a little bit tonight. Maybe we just overlooked how much they would execute, how fired up they would be. But it's tough. It's tough to know what things would look like. We haven't seen a game all season without Jason Tatum, and we're literally living in the unknown right now. And the Knicks just need to buckle up, focus, and respect the opponent, man. It ain't over till it's over right now. I guess the big winner tonight, guys, is Indiana. But like I said, the Knicks are still going to get 4 days rest regardless if they can close things out on Friday. But right now, Indiana's, resting. They're done on their series. Congrats to Indiana closing out Cleveland. I mean, what's there to say about Cleveland, man? Could not extend the series. Disappointing. Donovan Mitchell, man, limping over the line. Cleveland just looking like a different team. Pacers raising their game, raising their level from the regular season. Don't forget, Indiana only finished with one less win than the New York Knicks. They were one of the hottest teams since January 1st. So you got to treat the Indiana Pacers with maximum respect. Right now we need to close Boston out in 6. I'm confident we will, but buckle up. Right? It could be a closer game, but I trust that our guys will bring us home with the crowd, with the city. Do it for the fans, right? The Boston fans turned up tonight. They made it loud, probably the loudest it's been all series, which is crazy. But yeah, they're obviously against adversity. Lionel says Tibbs did a poor job to coaching tonight. Game 6 is a must. Yeah, 100%. Spot on, man. Appreciate it. Tibbs, poor game tonight, but players let him down as well. Cat, I mean, you're in a perfect position. They threw it away. They're in a perfect position to win this ball game early. We look at the wire to wire. I mean, this is one of the games where we had our best first half. We had our first lead to end the first quarter, 32-30. It was a lead. First quarter was a little back and forth, as you see, but start of the second, the Knicks started to get real control. But Hart, I thought, sped things up a little bit when he didn't need to. He tried to run that fast break under the basket, out of control. I think that was kind of a start of a Boston run. And that 9-point Knick lead evaporated, man, quicker than water. It disappeared, man. And that gave Boston confidence. And that's a scary game of basketball, man. We're dealing with high stakes right now. You can't let the other team hang around. Stay in it. But then Tom Tibbs didn't push the right buttons and get some adjustments happening and get into his guy's face, man. Guard the 3. That's literally all the Knicks needed to do. Boston controlled the game once the lead got large, but that lead, it ballooned real quick because the Knicks just couldn't guard the three, and Boston started to get too many open looks as well. I mean, a phenomenal shooting night from Josh Hart kept us in it as well. But look, he was obviously a little bit rattled. You don't see Hart get into too many scuffles, man, and confrontations. However, this is playoff ball, man. This is a war right now, and he was battling. Mitchie came to the battle. Unfortunately, OG wasn't great. Cat was solid early, offensively, disappeared when things tightened up. But yeah, Boston's defense really tightened up. Tony from Denver, salute. Note for the second half, 68 to 43, unacceptable. It is, man. Like I said, man, all we needed was the game to be close, and you give ourselves a chance. The third quarter was the worst quarter, I think, for the Knicks all series. That is concerning because no Tatum. What's going to happen next? Nobody knows, fam. But our guys have responded all season, all playoffs, and look, it's going to be hostile. As hostile as it was tonight for us, it's going to be twice as hostile for the Boston Celtics at the Temu Garden. But look, all they did was stave off elimination. So I'm not losing my head, man. It's all to play for the New York Knicks. This is playoff ball. This is all I've known all my life, man. When the Knicks went up 2-0 against Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls in '92, I was a young boy thinking, man, we here. We're going to do this. I opened the newspaper, find out that, Chicago answered the call again and again. And it's frustrating. It is how it is. You're up against good teams in the playoffs, and you just have to grit your teeth. You have to grit your teeth, man. But I'm down for the ride. These guys are a bunch of rough riders, and yeah, all the more motivation. We haven't closed out a series at MSG since 1999, man. So let's have ourselves a party like 1999 and close these dudes out. Right, let's close them out, man. They want to go to Cancun. They don't want to go to the next round. Right, tonight was all showing heart. Salute buzzer beater. Munch, my emerging thoughts on Tibbs. He hasn't been able to get the team to play consistently well within games and across the season. At this point, anything less than a good finals appearance, and you'd like to see him out. Yeah, I think there's a scenario where even if we get to the Eastern Conference Finals, Tibbs might not be back. A lot of things been said about Tibbs, but one thing that I've really paid attention to is his, demeanor, his behavior, his age. Don't want to talk about a man's age so much, but he's getting up there a bit, and I'm sure the Knicks will take care of him if he doesn't continue as a coach. But obviously he's coaching a series that we're leading right now, and Leon Rose will be taking a lot of value in that, right? To beat Boston arguably would be one of the greatest playoff upsets. Nobody gave us a chance. The funny thing is, Buzzer, and in terms of what the F tonight, it's like the pendulum swinged because we've been the underdog all along. And we swing and an injury to Tatum, a win in game 4, and all of a sudden, Boston, believe it or not, all of a sudden they become an underdog. And so that's a dangerous power to play with when a team's been favorite for everyone, all of a sudden is now the underdog. Now all of a sudden the New York Knicks have got to find a way to play as a favorite, play with that pressure, and deal with that pressure. And it's not easy. It's not, because look, you take Tatum out of Boston, of course, it's a massive blow. But let's not act like they're not a great team still. I mean, look at the talent they've got. I mean, Porzingis is a shell of himself. And if KP was able to give them something solid, I mean, no disrespect to Cornet, he's playing great. But yeah, if Porzingis could give something, we might even be down in this series. This series might even be over. But it's not. We're learning still. We've got to take these opportunities. I always look at who steps up in a big moment. I can't speak enough about Mitchell Robinson. If we had won this game, it would have been all over. It would have been all because of Mitch early. Brunson finished with 6 assists, minus 18. It's tough with the early ticky-tack fouls. He's already at a disadvantage defensively, trying to stay in front of guys. But my biggest surprise was how Jaylen Brown looked. The guy looked terrible in Game 4. He's been dealing with knee issues. Maybe he woke up today and the knees were feeling better. But he certainly played like it. He took the challenge personally, and obviously it's a different level of desperation when it's elimination. Don't forget the Knicks couldn't close Detroit out in the first elimination game. They needed a second elimination game to come back with the requisite desperation that's required, to close a team out. And it would be the same the other way. If the Knicks were facing elimination, I would expect that the Knicks would come out the more desperate team as well. But basically, we're on a plane right now, back to New York, get some sleep, recover, and close this thing out, shut this team out, man, in front of a raucous Madison Square Garden crowd, man. Clyde was on the road. I respect that. Clyde was there, ready to see the Knicks close it out in Beantown. Unfortunately, we couldn't, but we'll be back and Clyde in the building to see the Knicks hopefully close it out on Friday in this series, right? I had some graphics ready to go. I had some talking points ready to go for a potential Eastern Conference matchup against Indiana. And this is what potentially lies ahead. Not looking past Boston right now, but obviously the Knicks are still 2 more chances to win this series and advance and lead the series 3-2. But either way, I'm not looking past Indiana. If the Knicks can get there, that series is going to be unbelievable. Potentially, it's going to go a long series, I think, in my opinion. Who knows how much the Knicks have left in the tank. But in terms of just skill gap, talent-wise, the Knicks had the edge 2-1 over the Indiana Pacers in the regular season. I do think they have a size advantage. If the Knicks can play the double big lineups, they are playing Thomas Bryant off the bench with Obi, TJ McConnell, Benedict Mathurin coming off the bench. They've got a bench that, does put up points, and play as a fast-paced team right now. But back to the Celtics, because the job's not done. As Johnny says, don't jinx it, fam. There ain't nothing to jinx, fam. Just talking about what lies ahead. But yeah, obviously the New York Knicks have to close it out. And we have 2 more chances. How are we going to do it? Well, we need to play better defense, guard the 3. Boston, they shot, let's pull up the percentage. They shot 44% from downtown. So that's not good enough from the Knicks. We needed to limit that, and we didn't. There's not many guys you need to worry about as much. We Tatum off the floor, but we basically didn't have the right game plan. On switching, all of that has got us this far, but I think we need to adjust. They made a lot of tough shots as well. Pull up threes. You can't contest every single one. Sometimes if they just want to pull up from deep. I think Derek White obviously was the killer tonight. Got loose early with 34 points. Luke Cornett with 7 blocks. That's unacceptable. That's just general failing of awareness. Cat under the basket, letting Luke Cornett get the block shot, and OG Anunoby was the Knicks' best with just 1 block as well. Jaylen Brown with 12 dimes. I mean, one of his best games for a long, long time. Obviously, giving the Celtics fans something to think about, next season. And I do that Boston will obviously have a lot to think about for next season. But right now, they weren't prepared to go home, and we're going to have to send them home. Back at MSG, Brunson with 6 assists. Hart with 24 points was the leading scorer of the Knicks tonight. They were leaving him open. He was knocking them down. Josh Hart finished 5 of 9, 55%, man. That is filthy. Right. If you had told me that Hart was 5 of 9 from downtown, 55%, I would have said we won. And so, yeah, the New York Knicks basically got ran out of the gym early in this one, but foul trouble really hurt us. But look, Boston were up against it. The media, fans, they had a response that they had to show tonight. So I'm not really worried too much. Like I said, winning 3 in a row is near impossible. And odds are in the Knicks' favor. They've just got to come out, and produce. PH says the ISO ball so-called read and react offense is no good all game. Yep. No backdoor cuts or design plays is on Tibbs. The players coach themselves. He has a very simplified offense, yet there's not too much to it in terms of nuance. There's a lot of reading, reacting on the fly, etc., etc. I simply look at it like this. I don't think Tibbs is the best coach for this team to move forward. Is he a solid coach? Absolutely. Got this team to 51 wins. But yeah, this team has a lot of talent. And like you said, they could do a lot of things by themselves. Defensively, his adjustments has helped the Knicks get up in this series. So we can't just ignore the defensive side of things either. Thibodeau's strengths lie with our defense as well. But yeah, I agree. The offense isn't good enough. Karl Anthony Towns not being a major enough factor is troublesome for me, troublesome personally. So yeah, let's talk about it. Let's continue to shout you guys out. I'm going back and forth with a few people on X. So if you haven't followed us on X at Knicks Buzz, a lot of people are talking about the Celtics should have been able to close the series out tonight. A lot of people clowning on the Knicks, etc., etc. And yeah, not respecting the Knicks' gritty wins. And we'll see how it all plays out. I'm loving the back and forth. If you don't like playoff basketball, man, you're comatose because it ain't for the faint of heart. It's back and forth, good team versus good team. And look, crazy things happen, man. Who would have thought that the Cleveland Cavaliers would have been sent home by Indiana? Man, obviously Cleveland's getting clowned a lot. Regular season is what it is. I personally feel like Cleveland, did similar to the Knicks last season. They went a little too hard in the regular season. 64 wins is unnecessary, in my opinion. I mean, the Heat have already shown that you can make it to the NBA Finals from the 8th spot. Ideally, 50, 55 wins, that's plenty. That's enough. If the team is good enough and you believe that in the talent, a 3rd seed, a 2nd seed, that's enough. So yeah, in terms of Cleveland, last season's Knicks, I think they went a bit too hard. 64 wins is absolutely unnecessary. There's no need to push that much. They ran out of gas. Their players were down. They were injured. They were banged up. And once again, Indiana are there, man, to pounce with their depth. Indiana's fast finish, slow start, fast finish is kind of a hallmark of what they did last season as well. Yeah, Buzzer, talking about Tibbs' age, I'm not specifically saying that's the reason he's a good, not a good or a bad or a good coach. I'm basically using that as a measuring stick in terms of also, how much longer is he going to coach for? It's tough because you got to bring It's late nights, it's travel, it's taxing. Look at Popovich. He just can't go anymore, man. Health concerns. You got to look after yourself. Me personally, I mean, I respect Tibbs's love of the game, his grind. But if I'm 68 and I'm a millionaire, I'm not traveling on the road, man. With high level intensity, coaching a professional basketball team, man. I'm enjoying my retirement at that age, but it is what it is. Um, yeah, Tibbs helped raise the floor. We need a guy that can raise our ceiling right now, because we're up against it. Yeah, let some people talk their talk. Everyone's got their opinions. I'm respectful of everybody's opinions, provided they don't disrespect me or disrespect the New York Knicks. I think the Boston Celtics, neutralists, they're throwing a lot of disrespect our way. A lot of talk over the first two games. The New York Knicks won those games. Make no mistake about it. Fam. The Celtics were full strength, no excuses. They shot threes, they went cold, and they continued to shoot threes. That's on them. That is on them. Right. The New York Knicks took those games, and ain't no one can tell me otherwise right now. You can't decide to shoot as many threes as you want, miss them, and blame and blame yourself, and not blame the other team, for getting the win. Basically, the New York Knicks had to put up 20 points comeback and earn those victories as well. Tonight was a different kind of game. Series can shift, they can swing with injuries, with different factors. That's why you need to close it out when you have the chance. But yeah, I think Friday is going to be sweet. We're going to be on here chopping it up, hopefully enjoying a win. I think I'm confident that the Knicks will execute and close it out. I'm ready. Obviously, I hate having to wait. We've got another day to wait, another 2 days. But yeah, let's close these Celtics out. AJ again says it. Celtics willed that win for Tatum and their fans. The Leprechaun was on their court tonight. 100% AJ. Pride was on the line. Knicks just weren't desperate enough. I think maybe the fact that we started well counted against us because we got comfortable. We gave the lead up real quick. And that's where the coaching factors in. That's where you guys are on the money. Because tonight's game wasn't like any other game in this series. It was an outlier. It was the Knicks get up, and the Knicks just failed to execute and stay in the lead. Boston out execute us, and that's on the coach. You got to be able to stem these runs, slow them down. We failed to do that. Hauser coming back obviously was another boost for them, another big rotation piece. I think they've missed Sam Hauser in this series. I've already talked about Porzingis not giving them something. But yeah, Miles McBride hit a couple of shots, 3 of 6. I like to see Miles McBride get his shot going, so that's positive. Tibbs emptied the bench with 2 minutes remaining. Dardier got his first taste of some playoff minutes. Achua, Kolek, Shamet. If the Knicks advance and face Indiana, which I expect they to do, I would like to see a DeLon Wright or a Landry Shamet come into the rotation, or Precious. I think we're going to need some more bodies in the next series. What do you think? Yep. Buzzer swears DeLon. Tibbs wants that chip badly, says Buzzer Beater. Yeah, he does. Yeah, he's passionate. And look, he's a basketball lifer, and I get it. I'm not going to tell anyone to hang it up. I'm just saying that there's no denying that the grind's going to be tough. The grind is tough for players alone. Traveling, flight, city to city, late nights. Thibodeau is 67, 68 years old. That's got to be difficult. But he's doing the job. David says, got to start Mitch. Yeah, we could see that. I like that. But the foul trouble is a worry, David. What happens if you start these bigs and they start racking up fouls? Then you got to go deeper. You got to go to Precious. You got to go maybe Hakpority. It's risky. But yeah, I agree. Towns is frustrating. If Towns just doesn't get in foul trouble, maybe this game goes down a different path, down a different road. But Towns is going to continue to rack up those silly fouls. I said it earlier in tonight's stream. I feel like his reaction maybe gives the referees another reason to call a foul. His reactions, his ticky-tack reaction, the fact that he backs off and he's always chirping at the officials as well. They do have something against Cat. We've seen it all season. AP says, how does Brunson foul out? Well, yeah, just bias, bad officiating tonight, man. What happened to that physicality from the Detroit series, man? It's gone. I mean, Detroit, that series, insane. It was tackle football. Right now, we're seeing ticky-tack stuff. And that's why I'm frustrated with the NBA, because it's just really poorly run, top to bottom. Adam Silver, the referees are a joke. They got betting, gambling sponsors up the wazoo. Next thing you know, teams are going to have gambling companies, betting sponsors on their shorts, and on the jerseys, gambling sponsors on the basketball, on the socks that the players are wearing, on the headbands, all of that, man. It's insane. But I really feel like the script was in. The series was going to get extended. I even think from the Knicks side, as crazy as it sounds, James Dolan, just to let you guys know, with every playoff game on home floor, the organization, all organizations make a ton of money, like a ton. We're talking in the tens and potentially hundreds of millions of dollars over the course of a playoff run. And the New York Knicks getting another home game at Madison Square Garden is going to make a ton of money for the NBA, for the New York Knicks specifically. They love these series for the networks. They love the series to go further. The fact that the Indiana series ended early is another reason why there's more eyes on the next series. Which is, you got to take it out of their hands, plain and simple. Yeah, I'm basically sick of Boston, and I can't wait for this series to be done with, man. Sick of Boston because I just hate the way they play. I hate the fans. I hate the arrogance, the cockiness, the disrespect, even from some neutral fans that don't want the Knicks to win. It's just blatant hating, man. What the Knicks did in Game 4 was amazing. Putting the Jason Tatum injury aside, nothing but prayers and speedy recovery for Jason Tatum. But the way the Celtics played that game with 15 assists, jacking threes, that's not the way to play basketball. And it was bound to fail at some point, right? Even if the Celtics are playing against the Washington Generals in this series, it don't matter. If they're playing Duke, Kentucky, whoever, if you just continue to jack threes, it's gonna come back to bite you. Live and die by the three. And you might have won a championship. I get it. You want to continue with a strategy that won you a championship, but don't sit here crying if it doesn't win you multiple championships, because at the end of the day, it's live and die by the three. And if you just want to continue to shoot threes, not pass the ball, it's losing basketball, and it's going to catch up with you eventually. 15 assists last game. Who would have thought if they moved the ball tonight, they would have won? And they got 27 dimes and they won the ball game. Everyone's going to be talking about the New York Knicks didn't win without Jason Tatum. Tonight had nothing to do with Jason Tatum, man. Jason Tatum could have played and maybe the Celtics lost. Let that sink in. Jason Tatum could have played tonight and the Boston Celtics could have lost. Maybe would have lost because he might have just been jacking threes. So the Knicks are up against a different challenge. They've got to guard the three. They've got to stick to their man, right? Lack of discipline tonight, guys. How do we sag off Derek White? so early in the game. It was crazy. He was literally the one dude that was killing us early. Right, says NBA got to do something about the refs and betting BS, just fan suspicions, in my opinion. Johnny says refs are complicit with betting and subjective calls. Yeah, you see the swings. Right? Not saying they have full influence on the outcome of a game, but you see these 50-50 calls and how crazy they are. Tony Brothers just turns a blind eye on these challenge calls sometimes, you know. They see what they want to see, basically. Like, how do they miss Josh Hart, getting grabbed by the balls? I mean, it's just crazy. It's just blatant, man. They review the call, or they're happy to give multiple technicals, and review the play. How do they not review this? Like, how is it all over national TV broadcast for you and me to see? And a grown man grab another grown man's balls, and nothing gets looked at. But look, it is what it is, man. Betting's involved. It's rife in this situation. So is income. Basketball generated income. The Knicks get another game at Madison Square Garden. That's one of the reasons I'm not that fired up tonight. I know the script. When you've been doing this long enough, you know the script. I'm just disappointed the Knicks just couldn't stay in the game and maybe pull it out late. Dara says Boston 11 and 2 without Tatum. Yeah, 9 of those regular season wins though, fam, were against Washington, Orlando, Charlotte. They beat up on Portland. Most of their wins without Tatum were against lottery teams, but yeah, they've got talent. David says in the bonus, 9 minutes left in the quarter. Refs. The fouls on JB and Cat were disappointing, as well as the missed defensive rotations, Buzzer. I felt like this game was an adjustment, and I hope that the Knicks can come ready with the right adjustment, because first game with no Tatum, and you've got to be like really locked in because it's unpredictable. Remember when the Knicks were really good without Brunson because they were unpredictable? OG was loose, Deuce, Bridges got loose, Cat. Tonight was kind of a filling out game, and the Knicks withstood the first punch. When we got up 9, I thought this thing is just basically done. Once we turned it over a few times, they hit a couple of threes, and you blink, and Celtics basically were back in the game, and that's what killed the New York Knicks tonight. You can't do that on the road. You can't let the team just go crazy and get a big run. Because we saw in Game 4, the Knicks got that huge run, and the crowd, the players lift. It gives a whole shot of adrenaline to everybody in the building. And so here we are, guys. All to play for. We have the advantage, 3-2. Let's close these dudes out, man. We're going to be fired up. Hart, Cat, Brunson. You see him waving to the camera. You know what he was really saying? Brunson was saying, yep, see you later, crowd. I'm going to close you out in 6. And he's also waving to everybody back home, saying, don't worry, I got this. I got this. MSG, let's get it. Let's close these guys out. That's basically all I got. Can't really dwell and linger on this one. Once again, credit to Boston. They played a more complete game out of any game because they weren't just pulling up isolation threes. They were moving the ball. But the Knicks defense was really bad in the third quarter. Cameron Payne's minutes were bad once again. I hate to single out certain individuals, but he's been struggling for about 5 games going now. Struggling to really find the flow of the game and really give the Knicks an advantage. If he's not scoring, he's definitely not setting people up. We won the non-Brunson minutes in Game 4 tonight. Was a struggle. I don't know about Shamit, man. I think we might just need to close this series out and then focus on the next series and who might be able to play. Thankfully, every player, to my knowledge, got through healthy. There were some knocks to come out of it, a few falls, a few bumps, bruises, but I think everyone should be ready to go for Game 6 on Friday. The crowd is going to be crazy. Let's close them out early, get ourselves on top, bring that energy. I think we can out hustle them. Who knows what Jaylen Brown has left, man. I think he was basically emptying the clip tonight for the home fans. His knees were struggling in all the other games. Tonight, he looked a lot better. We don't know how much more he's got left. I mean, they were facing elimination. So usually the team that faces elimination basically empties their stamina meter. We might not see how much these guys have left in the tank, guys, but tonight, when you're up against elimination, you have to give it your all. I think that's what Jaylen did. I do think the Knicks, obviously, Brunson got some rest, was fouled out with 7 minutes remaining. And I think that he'll be ready to go. Some of the players, didn't finish the game out, so they should be ready to go. And let's close these guys out in 6, right? Worst case scenario, not that I want to think about it, but I would still give the Knicks a chance in a 7. However, we don't want that. We obviously want to close this thing out at MSG, move on, advance, and then, look forward to talking about a potential next round matchup. Bless up, everyone. Peace up, and let's go Knicks. Disappointing to not close it out, but it's Knicks in 6 for me, 4-2. And shout out to the haters, the doubters, and all of that. But we'll be talking about it Friday night next up, and hopefully talking about the next round series. Let's go Knicks. Salute. Peace out.